Legends, welcome back to another episode of the Ruck Infringement Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joey, and this is another Ruck Infringement Podcast special guest interview. My guest today is none other than Canberra Raiders premiership winning player, Brett Mullins. Brett, how you going, mate?
Good, mate. Things are all pretty good up at Broadbeach at the moment, enjoying life.
Yeah, very nice, mate. Very nice. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get straight into it. Now, the first question I got for you, who is Brett Mullins? Give us a little background.
Well, look, a pretty simple fella, me, mate. Grew up in a country town called Young, and then, it's kind of just progressed from there. Headed to Canberra and then went to the Roosters, and now I'm old and retired.
I love it, mate. Well, let's start off when you were young. Now, who did you play for? And were there any other sports that you thought about doing, or was it always rugby league for you?
No, in Young, you played all sports. So your footy side was your soccer side, your basketball side. You got stuck into tennis, cricket. So I had a hand in every sport basically growing up. But the one I seemed to excel best at was rugby league. So I followed that path.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, let's talk about playing first grade. Obviously, you debuted for the Canberra Raiders. Mate, take us through your debut. Were you nervous, and what was that like?
Look, a long time ago now, mate. I was just trying to remember when that was, but I would have been nervous as hell for sure.
Yeah.
I think I was only 18 at the time, so I was young and playing against or beside places like Mount Meninga and the likes. So I was very nerve-wracking, and then made sure I didn't make it too many mistakes anyway.
Mate, you must have done all right. They kept you on. Mate, did you have a footy nickname at all?
I was just Mullos. That's what everyone called me, so I just shortened from Mullins down to Mullos, so that's all I got.
Yeah, nice and easy, isn't it? Mate, who was your rugby league idol when you were growing
Yeah,
up?
it is, mate, yeah. Brett Kenny, mainly because the name was Brett, so I kind of filtered towards him, and they were a great side in the 80s as well. So, Brett Kenny was one of my idols growing up.
Yeah, mate, fantastic player. I've actually interviewed Eric Grove Senior and Steve Zip Eller as well, and they speak very highly of Brett. Incredible player, mate. Let's talk about the two clubs you played for in the NRL. Obviously, the Raiders first. That '94 team, mate. One of the most amazing teams we've ever seen. Take us through what it was like, not only just playing for the Raiders, playing in that team with so many star-studded individuals.
Look, very lucky and privileged to be playing with a bunch of guys who were so talented, and it was a special side. I think we were all someone represented someone, whether it be Noah for Fiji and or the PNG boys, David Wesley. So a very side to get easily lost in. Sometimes you can have a bludge one day, one game, and you're pretty much ensured that you're going to win the game anyway. So it was very easy to play well, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you of course joined the Roosters later on, of course, in that 2002 season where they won the grand final. Mate, was there one club that stood out more for you than the other?
Look, I only spent 1 year at the Roosters, but I was a lot older and more mature when I got to the Roosters, so I understood kind of what my role was. When I was at the Raiders, I was just young, and you kind of just play off the cuff, and you didn't really have to work too hard, basically, because naturally fit. And when I got to the Roosters, I was injured a lot, and I was a lot slower, obviously. But so I worked hard every day to get myself on the field. So I kind of appreciated it more being a bit older. But Canberra was I was there for 11 seasons, I think it was. I've got some great memories and some great friends from that time. So that's Canberra Raiders stand out the most for me for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just spoke before. What an incredible team that was. Couple of player questions for you. Now, I didn't have this in the notes, but I wanted to ask you who was your favourite player to play alongside at Canberra, and then we'll do the Roosters after that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look, there was there was a lot of players I love playing with in the Raiders. I'd go across the whole board, forwards and the backs. But I always really enjoyed working alongside with Kenny Nagus. Watching him
Yeah.
get in the clear was just it's an amazing sight to see. So always put a smile on your face. So I enjoyed that, and Noah as well. So we worked in together from the back there. So a privilege to play with those two guys.
Yeah, for sure. And then over at the Chooks, who did you love playing alongside?
Um, Look, there was obviously Freddie. I loved Brian Fletcher and Luke Ricketson. You know, they were two funny guys, so I enjoyed my footy with them and enjoyed playing with those guys as well.
Yeah, very nice. That was my next question. Who was your
Yeah.
funniest teammate, if you can narrow it down to one?
Well, okay, the Raiders would have been Steve Walters. He always
Yeah.
cracked me up, and he still does. And Brian Fletcher. So what you see what you see on TV with him is exactly what he's like. So yeah, he was definitely a big standout, Fletch.
Yeah, very nice. Who was a pest? Who was a
Right.
serial pest in the teams?
Serial pest. Well, Fletch again. Ryan Fletcher, he was always up to something. He was always up to something. So him at the Raiders, serial pest. Oh, look, that's pretty hard. I can't really think of one of the Raiders. I suppose Tutsi was a pest when we got on the drink. So maybe I'll say Jason Croker, but
Yeah,
not on the
nice.
field. I was just obviously we went for a drink. He was a kind of a funny man to go out with.
Yeah, I love that, mate. I love that. Mate, you also obviously you played in the Super League as well. Take us through the difference in competition between the Super League and the NRL.
Well, look, I didn't play. Look, it wasn't much difference.
Hmm.
In my opinion, it had to happen. Our players had to get paid what we were worth. So, look, the game was the same basically. So I can't really see
Yeah,
too much difference from playing the Super League against the NRL guys. So, and I think it was only a year, and then we're back together. I think, wasn't it? From memory.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, yes, it wasn't. I didn't find any difference, mate. To be honest.
yeah. Nice. All right. Well, let's talk about the GF 94 first. Now, first off, what was it like winning a grand final? I mean, that must be an incredible feeling.
It's the best thing you can do in rugby league. Like even it tops playing for Australia and for your state because you work hard week in, week out with the same kind of blokes. So
Yeah.
winning a grand final is the ultimate. So, yeah, I cherish both those grand finals I played in and won.
Yeah, so good, mate. From there, let's talk Origin. Obviously, a big step up in class. You know, it's the best of the best going at it for New South Wales and Queensland. What was that like, and what was that atmosphere like as well?
The atmosphere was unbelievable, even up at Lang Park. I was lucky enough to my first game was the first game in Melbourne in front of, I think it was 92,000 people. And
Wow.
just running out on that field and the whole place just felt like I was shaking. So that was one game I'll never forget. And as you said, it was a step up. There was no slacking off in those games. If you did, you got caught out pretty easily. So um, once again, enjoyed every game I played, and I was lucky enough to win a few series and never lost a game in Origin. So it's something I'm very proud of.
We need to bring you back now, mate. Get New South Wales going good again. That'd be great, mate. In the
I
Origin
wish I could.
arena, in the Origin arena, who did you hate playing against? Who was one Queenslander that was just so good you hated taking the field against him?
Well, even in club game, Gordon Tallis was a scary man.
Oh yeah,
Um, he's probably the standout. Like even coming up against Steve Renoff, like you had to be right on him all the time, otherwise he was
yeah,
away. So that was a scary prospect coming up against the Pearl. So yeah, that's a couple of stand out in my mind.
yeah, definitely. Mate, from there, we moved to Australia. You obviously represented your country. Now, what was that like? I mean, for me, when I hear players playing for Australia, to me, that's just it's incredible. You're playing for your country. You're singing the national anthem in front of your home country. I mean, take us through that. What was that like?
Look, once again, an unbelievable experience. We had a one-off test against France, 94, and then I was lucky enough to go on the 94 tour, which was 10 weeks of solid drinking from memory. Um, and then you had to play football midweek and play for represent your country. So it was an unbelievable time, mate. Yeah, some got up to some antics over there, and probably not ones I can mention, but look, playing with all the blokes you looked up to, before you got to that first grade, like big Paul Sheridan, and obviously playing with
Yeah.
Mel and a couple of my teammates as well. It was something really, really special for sure.
Yeah, I love that, mate. That's awesome. Look, I could imagine that. Yeah, it would be pretty incredible. Did you have a favorite coach that coached you?
I had Tim Sheens for a long time, so obviously Tim Sheens is right up there. I had Phil Gould in Origin, which I felt very at ease under him in Origin. He got the best out of you, but Tim Sheens, is a standout for sure.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, one of the best. Mate, from
Yeah.
here we
And
move.
I don't want to say Ricky. I don't want to say Ricky will get a big head.
Oh, mate, I hope he listens. Look, it'll be fantastic. Uh,
So,
from there we move into retirement. So first off, how was retirement for you?
look, it was pretty easy because I knew that was the end for me with the injuries I had, and I, I just knew I couldn't go any further. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
helpful to the side at all. So it was pretty easy for me. The hardest thing for me was not being around the boys, every day and training and all that. So you kind of go from having a laugh with about 20 odd blokes every day to going to hang with your wife. So that was a big change that way, but thoroughly enjoyed it. I knew it was the end for me anyway, so that transfer from playing and to not playing was pretty easy for me. So I knew I was just done.
Yeah, yeah, great. And did you stay involved in the game in any aspect?
No, no, I didn't. I had three young kids at that stage, so I just
Mm.
followed them around with their sports.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
just put myself in the background and just watched.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, let's jump into a little bit of rule changes now. If there was one rule you could change in rugby league, if you had the power to change any rule, what would it be?
Uh, Look, I get frustrated with that six again rule,
Yeah,
where sometimes that frustrates the hell out of me. I'd definitely get rid of that, just for the reason being, so inconsistent in my eyes. When one team seems to get more than the other and seem to be doing exactly the same things. So yeah, I'll definitely have a look at that one for sure.
yeah, yeah. I love it, mate. Mate, what is one piece of advice that you would give a young kid coming through?
Don't do what I done for sure. Look after yourself. Look after yourself. Train hard and enjoy it, mate. And just learn from your peers.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, mate. That is some fantastic advice. Before we finish up, way too early prediction. Who takes it home in 2025? Is it the Raiders year?
I'd love to see the Raiders get up, mate. It's been a long time. So the Raiders and look, can you go past Penrith again? They're just such a class side, aren't they? So, but I hope
Yeah,
hopefully the Raiders get up there. Yeah, the Raiders or the Roosters will be two sides. So be happy with either of them.
yeah, beautiful. Of course, repping the City Ford 1997 jersey, this one
Yes.
here. So, yeah, fantastic edition. Of course, if you do want to check that out, if you are listening today, you can check that out at jerseykingz.com.au, one of the sponsors of our podcast. Check it out. If you use the code RUCK, you'll get $50 off as well. We're buying jerseys for $100, which is an absolute steal, absolute bargain. So check out Jersey Kingz on all our social media as well. But that's all we have time for with our special interview tonight. We just want to thank Brett for joining us, mate. It's always a pleasure, and we thank you for taking the time out of your holiday to jump on with us and have a chat. If you do want to find us, check us out: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X as well, and of course Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you again for listening. That's Brett. I'm Joey. Be good.